Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Monique Pressley, the host of Make It Make Sense. So thankful that you are able to join us, as always, where we try to do exactly what the title says. Take the things that are complicated, convoluted, and need clarity, maybe it's a little confusing, and we make it make sense as best we can. If it's nonsense, it's just nonsense, but we'll tell you so. And we'll have facts and data to go along with it. Hey there, Mr. O'Neill, long time no see. I am going to real quickly welcome our guest of the hour. Today, let's see if we can figure out what's going on with the former guy and what's going on with the thing and the thing and the thing. And I asked our rhetoric resident and legal expert, the coin herself is here, Mr. Reva Martin ESQ. Hi there, sis. Hi.
Hey, how are you? Has it not been the craziest last, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years?
Listen, and the thing is, like, I always try to tell people, if you're not good at being a criminally criminal, and even if you think you're good at being a criminally criminal, there's easier ways, man. There's easier ways to make a buck. There's easy.
Some people value publicity and notoriety over their freedom, and they will test the judicial system, and they always lose. They always lose. So I don't know, maybe that 15 minutes of fame is worth it to them. You and I, not so much. Most of the world, not so much. But there are those people that will test the system, and they always lose.
Yeah.
That's
and you get away with it for a while, maybe. And really, and if you're a rich white man in this country, you think that the system is yours and that you will not ever have any consequences. But it does seem to me that those days are changing. And I'm not just talking about one case or one man. I am seeing consequences and what looks more like justice in lots of cases. But let's start at the top, because I know your time is precious. For the first time ever, I mean, he's the man of many firsts. And we talked before about the former President Trump and how charges were brought against him by Alan Bragg. And I think at the point that we talked, there was not yet an indictment. And of course, there came an indictment, and kudos to Alan Bragg for doing the job that he was elected to do. But since then, the former president stood trial in a civil court and was accused, among other things, of sexual assault and defamation. And lo and behold, Attorney Martin, he was found lying. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's really a first, and I'm glad you're talking about things that have changed in our legal system, because there's been a sea change with respect to the way sexual harassment and sexual assault cases are actually tried in our civil courts. So we are talking about civil cases, not criminal. And what we are seeing, and sometimes this even applies in criminal cases, but definitely in civil cases, judges now being willing to allow those propensity witnesses to testify. And those are witnesses that come forward to say, this is what happened to me. And it's very similar to what is being alleged by that plaintiff. And for some reason, people get it. You may say it happened to you, and they may be, I'm not sure. But if I come into court and our other friend comes into court and another friend comes into court and they say, this predator did something very similar to me, I think that really then resonates with jurors. And that's what we saw in the E. Jean Carroll case. We saw two propensity witnesses come in to say they had encounters with Donald Trump where he groped them, where he sexually assaulted them, essentially. And that testimony can be very persuasive, because it gives credibility to the allegations that E. Jean Carroll made. Because people start to think, well, if these two women who have nothing to gain, They're not getting the settlement. They're not writing books. They're not doing anything but telling their truths. If they're willing to come forward and say it happened to them, then it's much more likely that it happened to E. Jean Carroll. Another first, Monique, I've been at this a long time. I've tried cases. I've been involved in sexual harassment and civil cases, even personal injury civil cases. I have never seen a defendant that says that they didn't do it be so arrogant and so dismissive of the plaintiff as well as the judicial system that they don't even bother to come to court. They don't even bother to raise their hand, swear to tell the truth, get on the witness stand and say, I didn't do it, to deny it, and to be so bold and arrogant as to say, not only do I not have to come, I don't have to put on any evidence, not a shred. I don't have to bring a witness into the courtroom. I don't have to do anything because, as you said, I'm a privileged white man. And if my privileged white man lawyer stands there and says I didn't do it, then you jurors better just go with what my lawyer said. And how dare you reject his bullying? How dare you reject his statement and his, claims that this word is a liar? But we saw a lot of firsts in these cases. You do not see cases where people don't show up. And most people want to show up in court and tell their story. And, look at that plaintiff and say, she's lying. I didn't do it. This is a hoax. Not Donald Trump. He thought he'd be out the country and, his lawyers would just handle it. But did no juror bought.
Well, here's the thing, though, on that, and we may disagree. But I would, first of all, I would never have him for a client, but having a client who seems incapable of truth telling, just not interested in it, but just not even maybe certain anymore of the difference between what I say is true and what is actually truth based on facts. Like when you're dealing with someone like that, and when the system does not require you to show up, I'm pretty certain I would have advised this client to be anywhere but in that courtroom because he was not going to help me do anything for him. I would have said, this is what case is. Either they don't believe it or they're not, but you lie a lot. And you've already been deposed in this case, and I'm not inclined to have you add to that testimony and mess it up even further. And next thing they're gonna show you, Ivana, and you gonna think that that's Jane the same way you thought his
April was. No,
I don't know. I felt that was wisdom. He needed to not be in the courtroom. He was listening to his lawyers. Keep your tiny ass son.
No, I hear you on that. And yes, Donald Trump is not the kind of client you want to put on a witness stand because he is incapable of telling the truth, and that cross-examination would have been brutal. But that's why he doesn't need to be in these kinds of lawsuits. He needs to settle them because you can't have it both ways. You cannot show up. Jurors don't like being lied to, and they don't like being dismissed. Those are two things jurors will tell you. So he would have lied to him, or he was going to thumb his nose at him. Either way, he was going to lose, in my opinion, and he lost.
But Areva, the reason why it couldn't settle is because when you settle, you're agreeing to pay. And
no, think about all the lawsuits. Donald Trump has settled so many lawsuits. He has a history. And you don't have to admit liability when you settle.
No, that you're agreeing to pay. And what he's doing right now, his grift is on Prince Street. Like, yes, in the past, which is the reason why Me Too didn't hit him before he took office, because he had already settled. I ain't gonna say no more. But he was busy with the lawyers. He had already breached plentiful land days, green pastures with the lawyers who would have hemmed him up, is what I'll say. But now he's doing his I'm running for office script So you can't take your grant money and settle the open case because you're denying it. And now people aren't like they were before, where they accept the fact that you may pay and not accept responsibility just to get rid of it. The followers he has now gets based now. No, he has to say he didn't do it until the day he dies because it's the system.
But that's the beauty of settlement, Monique. He can continue to go on media, social media, town hall meetings, wherever he goes, and deny it and mock her and criticize her while quietly settling, which is what he has done. We know he has settled other lawsuits. And I think the base will continue to fund his litigation because we know so much of his litigation is being funded by his base. So it was a lose-lose. Let's agree to this. It was lose-lose no matter what happened, right?
Sure.
And it's a big day for the Me Too movement. It's a big day for survivors because E. Jean Carroll, after 30 years, and not that she waited 30 years, the law didn't allow her after 5 years before that new statute was passed in New York to come forward with her lawsuit. But I just thought it was so great that you have this 79-year-old woman, if he's called everything but a child of God, is the first one of all the dozens of women that have accused him. She's the first one to hold him accountable in a court of law.
Well, and another thing that was kind of amazing to me about it was like they kept saying 30 years, 30 years. And that seemed like a long time when they were saying it. But then I realized, wait a minute, I was in law school. Like I was, which I guess is still a long time. That's just, I loved up in the gang. But I'm like, I remember some things very clearly from my law school days, and then others, no, not so much. So I, as a defense attorney, in my heart,
I would remember a traumatizing event such as that. I thought it was so brilliant that E. Jean Carroll's lawyer brought a witness to testify that lingerie department at Bergdorf's is typically quiet, typically doesn't have a lot of people because, you know, the lawyer was making a big deal out of why didn't you scream and where were all the people? And they brought in a witness to show that's a quiet department. We don't have a lot of traffic in that department. That's not the most popular part of our store. This case was just put on very, very well, a very persuasive case. And, you know, I got a little nervous because, you know, in a civil case, when jurors come back really quickly, traditionally it's a defense verdict. Usually they stay out a little longer when there's a plaintiff's verdict because they're working through the math, trying to figure out what the numbers are. But this says that these folks went back to already decided that he was liable, and maybe that 2.5 hours was just spent coming up with the compensatory versus the punitive damages. So I was so
I wish it had been more money, but I do understand how they came to that. And I thought that the thing that she said, you know, about how because she didn't scream doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And I think people lots of times don't understand that many people's trauma response is not that there are things that can happen so quickly, like before you even know it, it's over and it's good.
Oh my God.
And that's what don't put in your head, you can't, like, am I having an out-of-body experience? Did that even happen? And I don't just mean in the land of sexual assault. I mean the way that people deal with unexpected traumatic incidents and the way they deal with unfamiliar environments and when things take you off guard. Everybody is different in their response to that.
Oh my God. This happens to women all day long. I was just at a party Saturday night. Some guy getting a little too fresh, too familiar, too comfortable, pulls me into him at a dance, made me so uncomfortable. But in that moment, he was the brother-in-law of the host of the party. I didn't want to create a scene for my friend who's big party, you know, big shebang, she's playing. So I had to, in that moment, kind of endure an uncomfortable situation so as not to make a big scene. My daughter was with me afterwards. She saw it. We both were like so disgusted. We talked about it, and it was the perfect example of what you think. In that moment, I kind of froze. my brain is going, do I curse him out? Do I kick his ass? But my mind is saying, but it's your free party. And he didn't rape me through that severe, but it was an uncomfortable, unwanted, non-consensual engagement.
Yeah.
So that happens to us as women. Somebody touching you on the back, somebody's hand slipping too far on your back. We're having to make
and it happens to men too.
And every day we're having to make those decisions. What do we do? So there's no perfect response, as you said, to trauma.
Yeah.
And trust me, it definitely happens to men. I think it happens to women more often by men. And we're always having to make that split-second decision of how to respond to it.
So on to another interesting case, which I haven't done much talking about. It appears that a member of Congress, the Republican Party, they're just some superstars right now. They are truly like the gold standard in how to fail forward. And like you said, with ego, with obnoxiousness, with lack of apology. So apparently, a member of Congress has been charged with, is it a 13 indictment?
Let me ask a quick question. One of your viewers said, can Trump still run for president? The answer is absolutely positively yes.
Yes.
Our Constitution allows him to continue to run even if he is convicted. Even if he's sitting in a jail cell, our Constitution is silent on that issue. So do not expect Donald Trump to bow out. And in fact, I think he is running for president as a shield against federal prosecution.
Yes.
Knowing that there's a memo in the Department of Justice about, prosecuting someone so close to a presidential election, which is why I think the clock is running out for our special counsel. He is going to have to hit or get off the pot. Because it's to 2024.
He's going to do what he has to do, and I think we're going to see something out in Georgia too. But I'm glad you stopped there because I saw so many people who were commenting saying he should have to on Twitter saying he should have to be on a sexual predator registry. How can they let somebody who's been convicted and found guilty run for office or do whatever? And none of that is accurate. Right? There is a difference between being found civilly liable and being found guilty or being convicted of a crime. He was found liable in a civil court, but Areva is correct, even if he had been found guilty. Now, there is something that Congress can do in order to change the requirements, but
don't hold your breath for this Congress, who is going to allow, Kevin McCarthy has already made it very clear, George Santos, Republican from New York, who was charged 13-count federal indictment involving fraud and false statements. He is going to stay, and I think that's short-sighted, Monique. And the reason McCarthy wants him there is because of the vote on this debt ceiling issue. But every Democrat in New York is going to tie the Republican Party to George Santos. Even the Republicans in New York want this dude gone. So I think it may give us an opportunity to win back Republican congressional seats in New York. So it's kind of like us cheering, let Donald Trump be the nominee. Let George Santos stay in office for now. They're playing the short game. As Democrats, we have to play the long game because in the long run, I don't see George Santos being reelected. So I think the Dems can reclaim that seat and other Republican seats in New York, which is why those Republicans in New York are so pissed off, so up in arms, and want George Santos gone like yesterday. But it's the Republican leadership in Congress that's saying, no, he can stay.
Well, I too, I was upset, and I am upset at Democrats when we seem to just hang our folks out to dry so quickly. And we lose senators and lose members for things when they haven't even had their full due process and maybe can't even have their full due process. But I'm also concerned when we remove things from the voters because I'm like, if the stupid voters elect stupid people with evidence of fraud. Now, in this case, I guess there wasn't as much evidence, but it was before the election, though.
But The con artist.
Election and be sworn in was when
Yeah.
it came
A
out.
lot of this, we were asleep at the switch. Dems just slept on this race. We didn't do our op research, or we did it and we didn't deploy it. But a lot of the dirt on Santos started to come out after the election. That's when all of those lies, the barrage of lies, and I'm with you. I'm not in favor. Like California, we are recall free. We'll recall you at the drop of a hat. I believe we should not be disenfranchising voters. And when someone is elected, those people who elected them have a right to have that person served. But I do think there is some conduct that is so egregious, and it doesn't have to rise to the level of a criminal prosecution that makes you disqualified to serve in certain governmental bodies. Like, let's take the woman and say, who was the district attorney, Kim Gardner? She's being forced out of her seat. She's resigned because the Republicans have essentially said they were going to pass a law to strip her of a lot of her power. Now, that is disenfranchising the voters in St. Louis. They should not. I think that is a threat to our entire democracy, and we need to be very, very concerned. Just like the Tennessee justices who were kicked out of Congress because they used the bull's order because they didn't, comply with the quote unquote rule of that judicial body. We don't want to kick people out of office when voters have elected them. We want voters to get smarter. Like, I want Florida voters to kick DeSantis out. I want Texas voters to kick out Greg Abbott. But that's up to those voters to do that.
So did you see the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Not, I do not.
It's so good. I guess I'm aging myself because now I can't remember how long ago it was out. But anyway, the character there, to me, reminds me of the Santos character because, like, he pretended to be a pilot. He pretended to be, through the entire movie, he just kept reinventing himself and basically defrauding people. And if he couldn't stop, the grift was like elevated. Yeah, some people in the chat are saying based on, but that's the whole time I giggled because that's an line of it. I know it's serious, but I'm like, I just keep waiting for us to find the pictures of him with his 8 glasses.
Well, now he has adopted the outrage talking points. I'm outraged, this injustice. I'm going to clear my name. All of the witch hunt, talking points that he's picked up from his mentor, Donald Trump. And what I worry about, Monique, is that Donald Trump has given license to people to run for office who I think otherwise would have never run. And he has lowered the standards so much that things that would have made you disqualified to run for office and definitely to be elected now are okay. We have Republicans say, well, I don't care if he was found liable. I don't care if he's been deemed a sexual abuser. I don't care if he's been deemed a liar because there was a finding on that defamation claim as well. We don't care. We care about nothing. All we care about is that he's going to be our mouthpiece, that he's going to malign immigrants, that he's going to, make racist comments about people of color, that he's going to give tax breaks to the rich and to the wealthy, and that he is going to carry out, in many ways, the agenda of white supremacy. And that's all they care about. Everything else be damned. The moral majority has left the room.
Yeah.
The Bible thumping, Mike Pence, with his moral majority, Bible thumping, but says he doesn't care much about the fact that this man has been deemed a sexual abuser.
Oh, because when the thirst for power met up against everybody's standards, their integrity, their morals, even their party platform, all of it went by the wayside in order to cling to power. But I know you have a heart out with this, so I just want to ask you, I know you've got some exciting things going on yourself. Is there anything you want to share with us before you go?
Yeah, this is a big month for Special Needs Network, the nonprofit that I run here in California. We have a big gala, an extravaganza, we're calling it, coming up on Sunday, May 21st. We're going to be honoring some amazing women. I'm just looking at a couple of our honorees. They're two sisters, African-American women. They own 21 McDonald's. They employ over 1,200 people, and most of them people of color. 25 of their 30 senior level managers are women. So these ladies are killing the game. We're going to honor them. We're going to honor our first African-American controller. She is the controller over the state of California's budget, which is the size of a country. California has the 6th largest economy in the world. We have a young Black woman who is over that economy. So we're just super excited. A lot of important people are going to be there, a lot of special guests. We hope you're going to be in the house. Folks are coming in from all over the country to help us celebrate 15 years of using our voice to speak up for individuals with autism, other developmental disabilities, and, speak up for those who've been disenfranchised and marginalized for too long in our country. So honored and pleasure to spend time with you talking about these hot legal topics, and look forward to coming back. You keep doing what you're doing. So proud of the work.
How do they find Special Needs Network?
They find us, snnla.org. You can donate, you can volunteer, you can fly to LA if you're not in LA and join us. We have a couple of tickets still left. We're about to sell out of this event, but we are always glad to have folks that join us in this movement. And you can sign up to be a volunteer. You can follow us on all social media platforms. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Areva Merton. And I'm having some of these same engaging political and legal conversations that you were having. So glad to join you today.
Well, thank you, Areva. As always, you come informed, you come ready, and you come providing us the insight and the analysis that we need. I appreciate you, sis. Thank you for your time.
Great. Have a great mind. All right. Bye-bye.
Guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope that you learned something. We always learn something when my sis Areva is on here. And I really want to impress upon you that what she was saying about it mattering, about how the moral majority has just fallen asleep at the wheel. I agree, but we're still here. And it's going to take all of us to get this thing back on track. So y'all know, how could I end a session like this and not say what matters the most? Vote. Your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. It's not the only way that we can exercise power and decision-making and authority in this country, but it is one of the chief ways. So if you are not registered to vote, please register today. Ensure your family is registered to vote, including your adult-age children who are coming of age. Your neighborhood, get out there, do some canvassing. Show up at your local meetings, your local council meetings, your local school board meetings, because even if the national circuit is going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that doesn't mean that things have to be crazy in your city, in your town. You can control at least your immediate boundaries and make things safer and better for your kids, for your family. All right? I'll be back tomorrow with more. It's going to be Freedom Friday. I don't know if Anthony O'Neill is still on here, but we just had this conversation. I was on, I recorded for his show, The Table. It's going to be coming out next week. I'm going to promote it here too, because we just had the best conversation, and he's going to be a guest on here with us next week. We're going to get our monies together, child. We're going to get our money right. Personal financial expert, Anthony O'Neill. I did a show this morning before I was here, and I'm wearing my Renaissance colors. Can y'all see? What shoes? Can y'all see? I'm celebrating. Congratulations, Beyonce, on the start of the Renaissance tour. I see you soon, sis. Okay, that's all I have for today. Love y'all. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Monique Pressley TV. Good. If you want to partner with us, sales@moniquepressley.com, or Cash App is $ Monique Pressley TV. PayPal is paypal.me/Monique Pressley TV. Thank you for buying badges. We appreciate all of it, as we do our best to bring you the facts, the data, the analysis, the info you need in order to help you make it make sense. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.